With Black Friday and Cyber Monday coming up, a lot of items will be going on sale, and if you're looking to get a new TV, this would be the ideal time. Personally, I've been using the Q60B in my bedroom for close to 3 months now, and the Q60A in my living room for a little over a year. This got me thinking, which TV would be the best value for money if you were to get one? Buckle up and let's go for the ride. Design-wise, both the Q60A and Q60B come with a black plastic outer housing, but despite being plastic, they still look super sturdy. I can't help but notice most of the hardware sits around the middle part of the TV. Taking a closer look, they both have these thin black bezels wrapping around the TV, with the exception of the Q60B, which has a grey bezel on the lower side of the TV. When it comes to the power button, it sits underneath this little bump up on the Q60B and the Q60A with the Samsung logo engraved on it, which adds an interesting design element. Moving on to the feet, they both have L-shaped feet, but because of the size differential, my 85-inch Q60A has its feet channels towards the middle part of the TV to help balance the weight of the TV, whereas my 65-inch Q60B has its feet channels towards the edge of the TV. Something to note though, on the Q60A the feet don't leave much room for placing a soundbar, especially if you have it sitting on a media console, hence the reason why I have mine mounted on the wall. The Q60B on the other hand leaves some room for a soundbar owing to the fact that its feet are height adjustable. Speaking of room, we might as well talk about the depth of these TVs. They both have slim builds, but the Q60A is slightly thicker, coming in with a depth of 1.57 inches and the Q60B coming in at 1.12 inches. In my case, comparing an 85-inch to a 65-inch wouldn't be a good judgment basis for size, and from research, 85-inch units would have the measurements mentioned earlier. For this particular matrix, they go toe to toe since neither really outshines the other design-wise. Turning around to the rear panel, the input layout is pretty much identical on both the Q60B and Q60A. Since I already have the Q60A mounted on the wall, I'll use the rear panel of the Q60B. Starting off with the terrestrial aerial and cable TV connector at the very bottom. Up top and slightly off to the right, you have the digital optical audio out and HDMI 3 port. Moving back in line, we have HDMI 1, HDMI 2 ERC, commonly known as Enhanced Audio Return Channel, which allows you to send audio from your AVR or soundbar. Next up are the LAN cable port, USB 1 and 2. Right across we have the power compartment that has these grooves underneath to help with cable management. Something to note though, the HDMI ports are 2.0 and allow up to 60 frames per second. Even though they're not HDMI 2.1, the number 2 HDMI has an enhanced audio return channel and it's compatible with auto low latency mode, which automatically sets your TV to gaming mode when a gaming system is detected. Getting out the scorecard, it's another draw on this particular metric. When it comes to the display, this is where the Q60B marginally starts to stick out over its predecessor, the Q60A. Both the Q60A and Q60B have an Edgeley dual LED VA panel that runs at 60 Hz. In case you're wondering what a VA panel is, well, to put it simply, it stands for vertical alignment and is a type of LED panel technology that is characterized as having the best contrast and image depth among the other main types of display panels. In terms of color, they both have rich and accurate colors, although the Q60B has better contrast and black uniformity. To put it simply, the Q60B would do well in a dark room. Although they both don't have the inky blacks or local dimming like that of the OLEDs, the Q60B has a fantastic native contrast which slightly beats the Q60A. For those who don't know, local dimming fine-tunes individual brightness zones across the entire picture. Something you'll have to put into account for both of these TVs, their motion handling isn't the best. This is because the blur on fast-moving object isn't as natural looking as it is on the models above it like the Q70A or Q80A. In saying that, it's not a major issue especially for the average consumer. Moving on to the home screen. When it comes to the home screen and user interface, there's a clear difference between the Q60B and Q60A. The Q60B uses a refreshed version of Tizen with a full screen interface, whereas the Q60A uses the older version of Tizen, which has all the apps at the bottom of the screen. On the Q60B, when you press the home button on the included solar powered remote, it brings up a line of apps across the top, and underneath that are several rows of suggested content. With the Q60A, like mentioned before, at the press of a button, a list of apps appear at the bottom of the screen. That's as far as the differences go. From there, they are pretty much identical in terms of functionality and features. I'll quickly go through some of them. Some of the features we've become accustomed to are Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, Bixby, among many others, which make it a lot easier when integrating them into a smart home system. They also have Samsung Channel Plus, which provides you with tons of free-to-air channels, and if you're looking for more, there's plenty of apps that can be downloaded from the Samsung app catalog. Some of my favorites include YouTube, Netflix, Stan, etc, etc. Another feature they both have is the web browser, and to make it more interesting, if you have a compatible webcam, you can set them up with the Google Duo app for video calls. When it comes to sound, the Q60A speakers are reasonably well balanced but lack the bass extension to produce a deep rumbling sound. They're pretty loud, which is good for large or noisy environments. However, there's a fair amount of compression artifacts at higher volume levels. The Q60B speakers, on the other hand, have a slight edge since they are well balanced at moderate listening levels, which is great for listening to dialogue, but it doesn't get loud and also lacks the deep bass. Like most TVs, getting a soundbar or a dedicated surround setup would be ideal for the best sound possible. In my case, I have the Samsung HW-Q950T. Moving on to the next aspect, we have viewing angles. For this particular metric, the Q60A's viewing angles are subpar, which is expected of most VA panels. Images look washed out when viewing from the side, so it's not ideal for wide sitting areas. The Q60B also struggles with the same issue, and the images look inaccurate as you move off center. This wouldn't be a major issue for the average consumer, but if you want something with better viewing angles, the Q80A would be a good option in the Samsung line, or the Sony X80K for those who prefer Sony. Moving on to the remote control. As for the remote control, both the Q60A and Q60B have an identical remote control, which can either be charged using the small solar panel at the back of the remote control or using a USB-C cable. One charge can last an eternity, and I can attest to that. The last time I charged this remote was sometime in April. The old Samsung remote can still work on these models, and one of its upsides is its user interface. For instance, if I wanted to go to settings, I hit one button and I'm right in, whereas with the new ones, you kinda have to dig around the menu system to get what you want. In saying that, the new remote still works perfectly and is a lot faster. Moving on to gaming. For this parameter, both the Q60B and Q60A are not the best when it comes to gaming, and this is due to the lack of features like variable refresh rate and 4K at 120Hz. On the flip side, they do have auto low latency mode, which puts the TV into game mode when a gaming system is detected. To get the most out of the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, you'll need to jump on the Q80A or higher. Nonetheless, if you don't have either of those, or you're just a casual gamer that doesn't need all the bells and whistles, the Q60B or Q60A are going to be just fine. Moving on to the price. I know majority of you guys have been waiting for the price comparison, and I'll quickly unpack it for you. The Q60A is going to be a lot cheaper, with the 85-inch unit going for an RRP of 3,995 Australian dollars. Whereas the Q60B of a similar size goes for an RRP of 5,595 Australian dollars. I know those figures straight away dissuade you, but fear not. It's that time of the year where almost everything is on sale, and if you do some digging, you can get them at less than half the price. I'll also leave some links for all the available sizes in the description box. In conclusion, the Q60A and Q60B go neck and neck in most parameters, but the Q60B has a slight edge, especially in areas like the contrast and black uniformity. Hence, it's better for darkroom viewing, and it has an improved out-of-the-box color accuracy. The updated version of Tizen on the Q60B has a few more features like support for Google Assistant, Bixby, and Alexa voice assistant. The only edge the Q60A has on the Q60B is a quicker response time. If I was to choose one, I'd go for the Q60B. People of the internet, I hope this comparison will help you choose a unit that you gravitate towards, and if you'd like an in-depth look into the specific models on their own, I'll leave links of the reviews in the description box. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. I'm signing out. See you on the next one.